Hey everyone, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos where it's just my face in the camera. So why am I making a video about this? And why on God's green earth do I have an iPod, especially an iPod Touch 4th gen from 2000 and what, 8, 9 in 2025? Well, there are plenty of reasons as to why. Also, this is the only device I cared about enough to customize it, and I wanted to make it look like it was from 2010, so I took a picture of myself with an iPhone 4S. Cringy? Yes. Am I a nostalgic freak? Also yes. And there's plenty of reasons why. Because if you haven't already noticed, in the last couple of years, streaming services kinda suck. And they're expensive. Not only that, but also, you don't even own your music. If you buy a song on iTunes now, the creator of it can lock you out of it. And sure, you can kind of get away with, preventing that by just leaving your iPhone's internet connectivity off. But no one's going to do that. Unless if they have a protege they don't mind just sitting there with no internet. Anyway, that's besides the point. Why do I have an iPod in 2025? Well, one, I don't like having to carry a phone with a hotspot connection every single time I want to listen to music. And anytime I want to listen to music, I want to be able to just flick through, not wait for any buffering, don't want to worry about any ads, nada. Not only that, but also you have an instant access to a massive library of songs. Because on this guy, I have got... actually, hold on. It's on an album, so it won't show all of them. That's not what I want. This video's going off the chains already. But, there it is. Focus. What if I zoom in? Yeah. 3,391 songs, and I've only used 5 gigs. And if I got rid of all the videos on here, I'd probably have another gig free. And that does, I use a smart converter. I download music in M4A format from YouTube using NewPipe, or well, now PipePipe, a fork of NewPipe. This camera needs cleaned again. Anyway, but I've been doing this for over a year. Now, the only issue with what is essentially pirating music is you have to add all the cover art yourself. And that has become so tedious that this album full of chiptune music, because yes, I'm a chiptune enthusiast, this whole thing of chiptune music is just Elwood's Deadlock. I just called the album Deadlock and then set it as a compilation thing. Because it used to just be Elwood music. But then I started adding other chiptunes to it because I figured, whatever, it sounds kind of like Elwood music, sounds like chiptune, and whatever. I don't care. I don't care if the album doesn't really make sense. It's my iPod. I'm gonna... whatever. But anyway, this thing has 3,391 songs. Now, that's not as much as my old iPod, which I still have. Ooh, she's been lovingly cared for. It still works. The power button is dysfunctional. I did get the volume down button to work, because that didn't work. But this is my old 2nd gen. And, ooh, the UI looks different. Apart from being a hazard for my hands, this guy, when I first got it back in August, exactly August 7th of 2023, had 285 songs. Now, of course, I couldn't use it until my friend Mason gave me this iPod, which I have sitting next to my PC because I'm going to try and fix it with external software because iTunes sucks. This is another iPod Touch 4th gen. It's a white one, and it's also in good condition, but it's a 16 gig. I couldn't get it to work, so I bought one, and I got it for only 16 bucks. Good deal. Anyway, this guy has 3,493 songs on it, but doesn't have a lot of space left, and that's because the 285 songs that were left on here are in way higher quality than what they should be, and they took up over a gig and a half, but I didn't want to delete them because they're old, and I like that. Plus, it gives me an idea that the previous owner didn't use it for long. Because no, my aunt, who gave this to me in a bag of electronics, did not own this. This was from a house they cleaned out. And yeah, when I first hooked this up to my MacBook, reading the whatever iTunes plays whatever. This was one of the most played songs, but it doesn't tell me how many plays. It just says it's one of the most. Anyway, enough of that. This, according to iTunes, the first time this thing was used, the first song this was listened with, was not this song, I don't remember. But it was first used on April 16th, 2012. Whew. And its last usage date was May 11th, 2013. So a little over a year of usage this thing got. And then they said, nah, I'm done with it. And yeah. And then 10 years later, over exactly 10 years later, I was like 13 at the time, 14-year-old gets it, and yeah, and I'm in love with it. I love the idea of having a little easily pocketable device. No phone call interruptions, no notifications that go boop 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 over my Bluetooth headphones. None of the apps to distract me. I'm the only one who can press pause. No one can ring my phone and make me answer it, except for my mom. And yeah, because this phone, my Samsung Galaxy S8, used to be my music phone. Ignore the mess. I was going through stuff. And yeah, that's my sister. I used to use this thing as my music phone. And I can't. Because this thing's internet is starting to cack out. The battery's getting tired. It's an old phone. Right? So then recently I got this, a Galaxy Note 8 with a slightly expanding battery. Uh-oh. And I tried to use this as my music phone. I just got this last week. And I wanted to go back to using these as music phones for a little bit, because I got lazy and I didn't feel like putting more music on my iPod. And there was music I've been wanting to listen to, especially more chiptunes, but they weren't on my iPod, so I would just switch to this. And the battery holds an okay charge. It is expanding. It hasn't been used for 5 years because, the person who gave it to me wasn't patient enough to let it charge for a few hours, and then it would turn on. Hey, though, free phone. It's a flagship. Anyway. But back to this thing. This thing actually used to have 3,616 songs on it. But, yeah, the storage is funky. Because that 162 megabytes it told you in the settings... Oh, this doesn't have multitasking. That 162 megabytes it said it had available in the settings... yeah, that's not true. Because when I hooked this up to my MacBook the last time I used it, it actually said it had 510 megabytes. Why is this mismatched? And I'm assuming that's the recommended storage remaining. And what I mean by that is there's not 3,616 songs on here anymore because I deleted a bunch of my music I put on here. And oh god, deleting music off of these old iPods is an absolute pain. You have to go through and delete them manually. And it is so slow, especially over 30-pin and these older iPods. Oh god, it's torture. But, yeah, I had to delete my music off of here. Oh, hi. I had to delete the music I put on here, which was just some random Billie Eilish and some Beethoven stuff. And there was also some, David Bowie and probably more Billie Eilish. And another thing I like to do is not just use my iPods for myself. Usually when I'm at school and we go outside, I, use this thing as like a jukebox, like a party thing. Because again, when I'm at school, service sucks because cell blocker. So I don't have to worry about having no internet. I just pull my iPod out, play some music. Even better, this is not a phone and my school allows me to use it. Yes, it could connect to Wi-Fi. And, where did I sit it? I'm going all over the place now, huh? But my new iPod, my iPod Touch 4th gen, if I could find it for demonstration, that'd be nice. But my iPod Touch 4th gen, here it is. This guy, just like my 2nd gen actually, they both can hook up to internet. But this one has FaceTime and iMessage. Doesn't matter. It's super old. I mean, hell, even the App Store's not supported anymore. RIP. But, even if, Again, this is like my dedicated music device. And some people have told me, some of my online friends and only a couple of my IRL friends were like, why don't you just get an MP3 player? It's just the same thing. Yeah, I don't like that. And there's a reason for it. I mean, yeah, while I could just get an MP3 player and, the USB-C ones where I could just slam it into my phone and immediately put music on there without having to have a 30-pin connector, and then iTunes. iTunes is good for letting you put in your own album artwork if you can't find one that is suffice. I know there's covers for each and every one of these songs, but I'm not doing all that. That's way too much extra work. Because if I'm adding more than 50 songs, it's going to take me an hour, right? Because I have to sit there and click through. Sometimes it doesn't, but it does now because I'm starting to get lazy. It's like, because I'm getting to the point where I have enough music on here to where I just don't feel the motivation to put a lot on here. Because last year I had less than a semester left because this is before I got a PC to where I can now put iTunes onto. And I had less than a semester to put music on there. So I was like, okay, I need to put a bunch of music on here that I can live with over the summer until I get my MacBook back. So I smashed 3,000 songs on here before summer break. Yes, it was tiring. And it sucked. The longest session I've ever had was like 5 hours, like sitting there and putting music on there for 5 hours. But it was worth it. And boy, am I glad I did it. Because now I have so much music on here to where I just don't really need to add a bunch anymore. If my friends recommend me good music, I'll put it on a reminders list that I keep on my iPad right here. This is a song list. And oh boy, it's thinning out, thank God. It used to be freaking massive. I used to have 100 songs on that list, but it's starting to thin out. I've actually got a bunch of songs loaded on my MacBook that I'm going to put on my iPod later tonight. But as of right now, where it stands, this has 3,391 songs, and that's great. Because this thing, people say that iPods are old, or you don't need MP3 players anymore, use streaming. And that makes me upset. And, the main reason I got an iPod as well, or, got so invested, is because of what DankPod said, too. Because it makes sense. I hate streaming services. It's annoying. Not only that, but trying to use your phone as an MP3 player and like an all-in-one device, I can't do it anymore. It's irritating. Every single time that thing gets one of those notifications, or, the phone has so much extra processing and things it has to do because it has GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a good GPU, RAM, all that crap that, an MP3 player just doesn't need. And then if I try to buy an MP3 player, its UI is probably going to be tortured. It's probably going to need some crappy, weird software that I don't want to junk my PC up with. And it's a hassle. These are just easy. As much as I hate Apple, this is the only Apple device I like. But God forbid if this thing dies, I'm just going to get another one or the battery replaced. Because the iPod Touch 5th gen and above, for whatever reason, Apple did something, and, the battery sucks on them. Oh, that's right. They tried to make these stupid things the thinnest pieces of junk on the planet. And, guess what happened? These don't hold a charge for long at all. Even if I'm trying to just listen to music out of this thing, nah, it's not going to last. Now, if you buy the 7th gen, which is the latest version one of these iPods you can buy, it was the last one made in 2019. Even if, that one has better battery life than the 5th and 6th gen, but not than the 4th gen, which is super cheap now. These are super cheap because not a lot of people buy these. And you know what I'm going to tell you all? Buy them now. And, again, I got this in near mint condition. For $16, this is a 32 gig iPod Touch 4th gen. What? An Apple device for really cheap? That's unheard of. And, please, if you can, get one of these. And honestly, you don't have to go through the pain of manually putting in artwork. There are websites that have preloaded MP3s, But for me, I want to have accurate stuff because I want to build a collection. And I want to share my library with people later on life. Because I can just dump it on a USB drive, put it on iTunes on my PC, and if I ever get one of my friends or family members an iPod when the streaming services cack it, then I could just throw my library on there. Will they like my music? Probably not. But that's why I put a bunch of music on here for everyone to enjoy. So if someone borrows my iPod, or I pass it along, or I give my library to someone, they can pick and choose what songs they want and delete the ones they don't need. It's great. So, yeah. Why am I rambling about this, though? And why is this important? Because as I just stated, God knows what's going to happen to streaming services, and honestly, it's more convenient. Because you just click this, and you can play it immediately. No ads, nothing. You can skip through, and you can rate it. Now, for the one person that's probably going to ask, okay, well, how on God's green earth, in the first place, did you even fit 3,500 songs on your old iPod, which is 8 gigs? Because if you look it up on Google, the iPod Touch 2nd Gen, or really any iPod with 8 gigs, is supposed to only have 1,750 songs. Well, like I said before, I use a smart converter, and essentially what it does is compresses the music, but it also uses advanced software. I think a newer version of my converter now has AI to make it sound better. I don't like AI though. But it sounds fine. In some cases though, for the longer songs, it does compress them a little too much, down to like 64 kilobits. And honestly, for me, 64 kilobits stereo is the lowest I can really go for tolerable listening. Usually I'd more like it to be 80 or 92 kilobits. And obviously, audiophiles or people are going to get mad at me for saying, "That's awful! I listen to music with 320 kilobits per second! You maniac!" Well, guess what? I don't really care. And honestly, if you don't pay attention to it a lot, it's not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting it to sound really hollow. Now, some music with an overload of drums and things will sound bad, but it also depends on your use case and the type of music you're putting on there. And honestly, even if this does go into higher formats, the converter does a better job at optimizing any quiet or silent moments, so it can reduce file size without reducing the quality, which is really good. Because most of the music on here is in like 92, 96, some of it in 128 kilobits MP3, and that's fine. I would just keep it in M4A because it has like M4A slightly more optimized while keeping good quality and takes up a little bit less space. But if you saw one of my old videos, I think I deleted it because I didn't see it as necessary anymore because I fixed the issue. But in one of my older videos, this guy's touchscreen stopped responding, and that wasn't because of its being cracked. Because when I eventually let the battery die and charged it up, it worked fine. And then it did the same thing a few hours later. And when I thought about it, I was like, well, you know what? I did put some M4A music on here, and that's really strange. Because this was when I started collecting, right? This is when I started collecting music. And it still had like 3.5, 4 gigs of storage left. Well, it turns out that the older iPods, at least as far as I know, don't do well with M4As. I think maybe the classics do okay with it, but because these iPod Touches were kind of new, and now they don't run a light version of what was essentially iPod OS, and now they were running like full-blown iOS, fully sick, yeah, for whatever reason, that thing hated M4As. I tried it again, and it started not responding. And then some other people I've talked to who've had an iPod Touch 2nd Gen said the same thing. So, yes, you can put M4As on there. Yes, they will play, but half the time they'll either corrupt or cause the iPod to crash or become unresponsive. So that is why I don't put M4As on here. And while I could put them on here now, because I think this one, since it's newer, should handle it, and my iPhones and stuff, well, like I said, I like syncing my iTunes library. And it means that if I ever stop using an iPod for whatever reason, I can migrate my library to somewhere else or upload it to a place where everyone can download it and enjoy the music. They can pick and choose what songs they want out of my library and delete the rest. Cool. And speaking of, for those who will want my library. I will eventually make a download available, but as for right now, I need to look for a good file hosting site because I don't like Mega. I've had bad experiences with Mega. Maybe Mediafire or something else, but I think I'm also gonna wait until I collect more music. I might try to start doing my variety thing again, where I just kind of pick and choose random songs to put on here, both from old and new age stuff, so everyone can enjoy it. Because I did actually give a couple of people online my whole library, because on Reddit people were asking for good places to download music, because there are other people who think like me, and you know what, they're like, you know what, I'm sick of streaming services, I'm gonna get an iPod, and blah. So anyway, with this whole 20-minute video rambling that you've probably skipped through or didn't even finish watching, I don't blame you, should you buy an iPod in 2025? Absolutely. Please. If you're okay with downloading music, or if you want paying a little bit of money for music on iTunes, then yeah, I wouldn't recommend buying music on iTunes, which sounds weird considering that, shouldn't I support artists, and how do they make money? Well, like I said earlier, they like blocking music. There was a few videos I saw where music that people bought with their money got blocked in our country. So, yeah, but if buying isn't owning, then piracy is not stealing. So, yeah, sorry, but it's the 7 C's for me. Now, for the chiptune ones, when I eventually get enough money in the future, oh yeah, absolutely. The chiptune music composers that I enjoy listening to their music, absolutely. I feel like chiptune is like, again, this is probably my nostalgic freak talking, but for whatever reason, I feel like empowered. Like, it's like listening to, I don't know how to describe it, but chiptune music is interesting, and it's a relic of the old times. Not only that, but it's how much sound and quality you can push through what is essentially 16-bit sound. It's like video game music. How far can we push this console's limitations? Anyway, that's not bleh. So yeah, TLDR, should you buy an iPod? Yes. One thing I will say is, unless if you're okay with just, sitting there for a few hours and putting some music on here manually, which I don't blame you if you don't want to do, that's fine. If you're okay with having no album cover and it'll still have the title, you can just download a bunch of music and slam it on here, and that's fine. I just don't like having no album cover. It's ugly, and it bothers me. It shouldn't, but little things bother me. It is how it is. But putting in that extra effort is worth it, because it means you have an accurate library. So if you pass this down to generations, if you have kids or something, they'll know who made the song, and they'll learn about it, maybe, if they want. If they don't, whatever. But if they like that artist, they can find their music. Anyway, there's also websites. I know there's a couple of websites that have preloaded MP3s on there with preloaded information. You don't have to do it yourself. But personally, I just did it myself, and I added all the album covers and things and blah, blah, blah myself, because I wanted it to be accurate, even if the MP3 sites have them. But it's also just more convenient for me, because when I tried to download through an MP3 site, it was not fun. And there were ads everywhere. They were trying to sell me stuff. I only had like 7 successful downloads, and 2 of them corrupted after downloading. And yeah, it turns out the server they had those 2 on died. Cool. Online hosting, everybody. Online hosting. So, yeah. I'm going to keep using this thing until it dies. If it does, I'm going to have its battery replaced. Or, just get a new one. They're freaking cheap. So, yeah. Buy them while you can. Because I'm telling you right now, when people eventually start realizing that streaming services are not ideal, and they're expensive, and they're a waste of money and time, these puppies are going to get expensive. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for this rambly video. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope this makes you realize how important something like this is. And that's it.